Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second BGR Live session of the week and our final BGR Live session, because in just a few short days, we will actually be welcoming all of our new Boilermakers to campus officially for BGR Move-In. And so my name is Virginia Cabrera, and I currently serve as the Assistant Director in the Orientation Programs Office. I help coordinate Boiler Gold Rush and Boiler Gold Rush International. And so this year, we're welcoming over 8,500 new students to Boiler Gold Rush, which is super exciting. And we want to make sure that all of our new Boilermakers know exactly what to expect for move-in. So tonight's session will be entirely focused on the move-in process, starting next Saturday, August 14th through August 17th, Tuesday, of Boiler Gold Rush. And so I'm joined with the lovely Ali Goodrich. And so I'll actually pass it over to her to introduce herself, and then we'll get started.
Well, thanks, Virginia. Not sure about lovely, but I'll go with that. Good evening, everyone. I am only able to see Virginia on the screen, and I'm hoping that we have quite a few people that are able to join us tonight. I am a longtime Boilermaker. I started my 21st year here at Purdue just last week, and I also did my undergraduate here at Purdue. I lived in McCutcheon Residence Hall. So I'm very familiar with the university and all of our opportunities to welcome your students to our campus. I have been doing Boiler Gold Rush and working in university residences my entire 20 years. So this will actually be my 21st Boiler Gold Rush. And I've served in a variety of capacities over the years. This year, I've been really fortunate to work with a great team of people to do all of the planning and the behind the scenes logistics to execute these four big days of move-in. So I'm excited to be a part of that, and I'm here to hopefully answer your questions as we go along throughout the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. That is no small feat what your team is doing. And so we thank you for the incredible work that your team has been putting in to be prepared for our students and help them transition as best and smoothly as possible. So let's jump right into this. So what, in your opinion, Ali, are the keys to a successful move-in for our new Boilermakers?
Well, there are a few of them, and I'm going to start with the first one that I believe is critical for each student to do, and that is that they need to upload their Protect Purdue credentials. It is absolutely imperative that a vaccination record be uploaded into their My Purdue portal. They've received messages and emails about how to do that. And for us to continue to operate this campus the way we did last year with our safety protocols, we have to be able to confirm that your student is cleared for campus. It's the green check mark that says you are cleared to move into university residences. The way to get that check mark to appear is, again, to upload that vaccine record, or 5 days prior to your move-in date, you upload that COVID negative results. Or if your student has a positive test 14 days to 90 days ago, you would upload that record. That is really vital for our staff that are working in the satellite locations, because the student will have to log on to their phone or device and show us that check mark. If you don't have it, you're not going to be able to move into the residence hall. So Virginia, that is probably in my mind and the minds of many on our Purdue campus, a critical key to a successful move-in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those Protect Purdue requirements are pretty crucial. I have a follow-up question for you. I mean, how early should students do all of their documentation and start that process to get that check mark in time for move-in?
Yeah, that's a great question. Any student who is currently vaccinated can upload that documentation right now, today. Don't wait. You know, the system takes 2 to 3 days. Once Virginia uploads her vaccine record, it can take 2 to 3 business days until the system shows you've been cleared. Now, if you are not vaccinated, You do have to wait and to upload because you can't get a COVID test earlier than 5 days prior to your arrival date. So again, we'll use Virginia as our example. Virginia goes 5 days before her move-in and gets her COVID negative test. Virginia needs to upload it immediately upon receiving it so that it gives the system that 3-day window to get your credentials to validate and say you're cleared for check-in. Someone who has a positive 14-day to 90-day, they can also upload that within 14 days of their arrival. So they could be doing that now. They're definitely in the window to be able to upload.
Yes,
Hopefully
absolutely.
that answers your question.
Yeah, it sure does. Yes. So once I upload that documentation, Allie, how do I know when and where to go for move-in?
Well, that's a great question. The students already received an email on July the 1st that gave them a link to log on and choose a move-in time and a move-in date. And they can pick that time or date. They could change it tomorrow to a different time of date because it works better for their family situation to arrive on a different day. Once they've made that firm decision, they go back into the move-in site, and actually 2 days ago, the move-in site activated and they will print their move-in pass. That pass indicates which satellite location to go to for the check-in process.
So do students need to print that pass, Allie, or can they get away with just showing it on their mobile?
No, that's a great question. They do need to print it, Virginia, and I'll tell you why. Each of our satellite locations is staffed with many people. Each has different jobs. But the person at the entrance of those satellite locations is likely going to be a uniformed police officer because they are in charge. They are in charge of traffic and the movement and making sure that we are keeping cars and people safe. And they know to look for that move-in pass on those dashboards. And Virginia, I'm gonna tell you something. If the student chooses to move in on Saturday at 1:30, please don't arrive at 9 a.m. or 10 or 11. You pick a move-in time to come at the start of that time. And there is a reason for that. We have, between our Boiler Gold Rush students and then, of course, returning students, thousands of people that come every day. And we need to get people to move in at their assigned time so that the traffic flows smoothly, so that we can do our jobs out in those satellite locations, so that we have flow and good processes once a student leaves the satellite location and actually goes to their residence to unload. So yes, a key to successful move-in, as we already mentioned, was all of the Protect Purdue credentials. The second is to pick a time and a date that works for your family, and then come during that time and print the pass to put in your dashboard. And if I could, Virginia, I want to add something else. I'm going to age myself a little bit and tell you that when I arrived at McCutcheon Hall back in 1983, you weren't even born yet, I did not have a move-in pass, and I didn't have a carload or 2 carloads full of things. Today, we know from experience, some students arrive with a oversized vehicle or maybe a trailer, maybe two vehicles. You only have to print 1 move-in pass, and you put that in your lead car. And whoever's driving the second car can just follow you through the check-in process and then follow you down to your residence. And then both cars can get to the unloading, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But as it ties to the keys to a successful move-in, we really want the student to select that time and date that works for them, print 1 pass, and have that in their lead car, and come during your time slot.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes total sense, right? If you have those things, you'll have a really smooth move in.
Right.
So Ali, you talked a little bit about a satellite location, right? So what does that mean? What is a satellite location? What can students and their families expect to do there?
Yeah. So a satellite location is pretty common for us. We've used satellite check-in locations for a couple of years, even prior to the COVID year. We used to have everybody go to their hall. So, now we have dozens of buildings that people move into. So, what we have done to help the traffic flow and the campus safety is to utilize three locations that we call satellite locations. Satellite locations are significantly large parking lots on our campus. For example, the North Stadium lot at Ross-Ade Stadium is one of our satellite locations. And certain specific residences will be assigned to go to that lot on their scheduled time and date. Our second satellite location is out by the Purdue Airport, and it's one of our airport parking lots. Again, certain buildings will be assigned to go there. Our third satellite parking is called the Discovery Lot, and it is on the south side of campus, close to Discovery Park, which is a particular area on campus. And so again, certain halls will go there. There is a method to our madness. We do divide and conquer so that traffic flows properly and that students, again, if they've got their pass and they've uploaded their credentials, they get to that lot and they will actually go through, have their PPHC credentials validated. As long as they have those, they will go through a driving queue line back and forth through the lot. We'll have people working in the lot, helping them along the way, but ultimately they will arrive at a very large outdoor tent. When they get to the tent, a few things will happen there. A key to a successful move-in is that every student that is new to our campus bring a photo identification that is government issued, a driver's license, a state ID, a passport. And when they reach the tent, they will be welcomed by a staff member who will ask for their government ID. So if I'm that person, I'm going to run up to your car and say, welcome. And I'm going to ask Virginia, you're a student arriving. I'm going to ask for your photo ID, and I'm going to ask you what hall or residence you're moving into. You're going to tell me, and I'm going to say, stay right here. And then that staff person's going to go back to the tent. They're going to locate your check-in packet. Inside of that packet is going to be really important information and items. One key to a successful move-in is, Virginia, you should have uploaded and gotten an email that says the photo you submitted to the campus card services was approved. Now, if Virginia doesn't upload her photo, guess what? You're not going to have a PUID. And that's critical because that PUID gets activated at that tent. That PUID is your meal plan, your Boiler Gold Rush meals, your door access to your residence. So I'll put a little plug in right now to anybody listening. If your student has not uploaded a photo, and I'm talking about like a pretty reasonable photo, like a nice headshot,
No selfies.
not a selfie with your peace signs, but a photo, and they will get an email that says your photo's been approved. We will have that PUID printed and waiting in your check-in folder. So when you get to that tent and you give me your government ID, we're going to go get your check-in folder. We're going to take your Purdue ID out of that folder. We're going to look at it and compare it to your state ID, and we're going to make sure you are who you say you are. Because if your name is Johnny Smith We could have several, and we've got to make sure we get the right one. Once we know you are who you are, we will swipe your ID, your PUID, through our system, and it will activate you and physically check you in. Then we will come back to your car, we'll give you back your government ID, then we will issue you your PUID. We'll issue you the key, the physical hard key to your residential room. And then there'll be some other documentation in that folder. For example, we might have another special pass that's a color-coded pass that you put in your dashboard, because it's going to indicate to the police officers that are working around our buildings which side of a building you go to unload. It will indicate which side of the road you might need to drive on, because in certain instances, we have to change two-way roads to one-way roads. So we'll go through that packet with your students, and we'll make sure that they've got everything they need. I'm going to give you a little piece of advice. When you leave the satellite location, don't use your GPS. Because we change the roads, you need to follow our directional signs to get to where you need to unload. So I call the satellite locations the place where you check in, where we swipe the card, we make sure you have all your credentials. Then you'll follow our road signs to your residence, where you will unload and you will move in to your room. Now that was a lot of stuff. I bet there's some questions on that.
There sure are some questions, but that was all really, really good and really, really important. So you heard it here, folks. Your student has not uploaded that Purdue University ID card photo. They need to do that as soon as possible so that we have your Purdue ID card ready for you. And second, don't use that GPS and just follow directional signage, right? Like, we're so used to using our GPS these days, right? But for move-in, we've got you covered. So there are a few questions coming in related to how many folks are allowed to help with move-in, right? So I get to that satellite location. How many folks can I have with me? Is it 2? Is it 3? And our family members that are coming for several hours, how do they get permission? Do they need it to help their student?
Those are great questions. And I'll use some of my funny stories. My parents never even saw my residence hall room. It just, you got dropped off and there you were. So, but we know that's not the way it is today. I will tell you that the university residence team is recommending that 2 family members are able to go in and help to settle in your student. We know that in certain instances, maybe a sibling is along or a special person, and you might have 3. We are not going to be in a position to monitor every single person that comes and goes. We really want to use the honor system and the merit system to say, we are recommending that you have 2 people at the same time. Now, if mom and dad want to go up first, and then dad and a sibling want to go later, you have that opportunity to do that. What we will tell you is that when you get to the unloading, and I think we can talk a little more about that in detail, one person has to stay with that car. We do not allow unattended vehicles anywhere in the unloading area. So 2 people might go up, mom and a sibling, while dad stays with the car and then takes it off to park when it's unloaded. And you can come and go. Again, we are trying really hard to monitor the foot traffic in our buildings. We are still in a situation where we are fully masked in every building. That has been updated as of July 2nd. Purdue University requires that every person that enters a Purdue building must wear a mask. So again, we're trying really hard to provide the safest environment for your students. And we're going to ask that you don't bring everybody at the same time, that you trade and you take turns. We're not going to tell you that you can't go in and see your student's room, or that you can't be there to help unload and get things settled. but we're going to ask that you really try hard to follow our guideline, which is that we prefer no more than 2 people at a time. Um, that's kind of where we are on that right now. There's no mandate, but we don't want to get to a mandate. We want to do what's right for our safety of our staff and our students.
Right. Safety is our utmost importance at this point, right? We're still kind of getting through this pandemic. So we got to make sure that our students and our families that are helping are safe. So Ali, to clarify something really quick. So do parents and families need to bring any documentation to assist their student in moving in? What should they bring, if anything?
They really don't need to provide us any type of documentation. Quite frankly, there's a reason for that. Myself or anybody out there that's helping as a volunteer, we are not medical experts. We are not going to know the difference between an antigen test versus a different type of a test or a vaccination. There are so many different kinds. We are not in a position to be able to validate any of those kind of documents. So we're going to ask that people use really good common sense. If you don't feel good, please don't come in our building. You know, don't expose someone else and use good judgment. Again, inside the building, everybody does have to wear a mask. Currently, we do not have to mask outdoors. People can choose to wear a mask. Many do, but you will see our helpers and our staff potentially outdoors without a mask. And that is because that is the guideline and the policy of the university today. Between now and the 14th, when we start moving in, that might change. If we know it changes, we're going to try to get that word out as quickly as we can. So I would say at a minimum, bring a mask if you're going to go inside, and bring a mask to prepare in the event that we have to wear them outdoors. But we're not going to be asking for your documentation. We're going to ask you to use good common sense.
Awesome. Simple. Yeah. So bring your masks so that you can go inside the actual buildings and help your student.
Right.
So let's move forward and talk a little bit about the unloading process. So once I've gotten everything I needed at the satellite location, I got my PUID card because my photo was submitted, it's ready for me, and my keys and directions to my residence hall or apartment. What happens next?
Well, I'm going to tell you. When you have everything done at that satellite location, you are checked in. And I want to make one sidebar note before we drive out of that parking lot. In the event that a student does show up and they do not have their PPHC credentials, we do have a plan. If the PPHC is open on our campus, we're going to send you straight away to get a COVID negative test. We want to get you checked in. The goal is that you will have done all of the right things before you ever arrive. But we do have the PPHC office ready to offer some services. They will not be open every night, late night, even though we are. So we're trying really hard to have a backup, but there will be people that might not have it done and it's after hours, and you are going to have to go find a hotel or stay somewhere that is not in university residences, and then come back the next day to PPHC, get your credentials, and they will give you a special document that will allow you to come back through our line. The same goes with your Purdue ID. If you arrive and for whatever reason, your photo never uploaded properly and we don't have a PUID, Virginia, we will still get you checked in. But then as a student, you have to go straight away to Campus Card Services, and we'll give you instructions and tell you how to get there. And you can go and get your photo taken and wait a couple of minutes and they will print your ID. And we even are working on a plan for late nights, like after hours. But my goal, folks, is that y'all get that done before you ever hit that parking lot. Okay.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I will also say that off-campus students, if your ID isn't ready for pickup at BGR check-in, because that's where you will be getting your PUID card, then we will also be able to print out your card at VGR check-in. So off-campus students, same thing applies. Please have your photo uploaded so that your card is ready at VGR check-in.
So now we've got it all done. You know, Virginia Cabrera is on the ball. She got everything loaded. She made it through that big parking lot.
Always on the ball, Allie.
Always on the ball. So you are leaving the parking lot. You might have one car or two cars. You may have a car and a trailer, whatever you're driving. You're following our great road signs and you make your way to your residence. This is where I call this move in. You just checked in. Now you're going to move in. At your residence, you're going to enter and there'll be lots of people directing traffic. And you are going to come to the unloading area for your residence. In some instances, that could be a back dock where helpers will be there to get the things out of your car and put it on a cart. In some cases, it'll be the side of the building or the front of the building. But no matter, we will have a team of Boiler Gold Rush leaders and many other volunteers from our residential campus to guide you through and get you into an unloading parking spot. We will remind the driver that they are not allowed to leave the car unattended, and we will have folks there to help take things out of your car or your trunk or what have you and get them onto our dollies and carts, and they will expedite that into the building and up the stairs or up an elevator, depending on where you're living at, and get it into your room. They will expedite that quickly and efficiently. And then they will take that cart and get back downstairs for the next person. As soon as your vehicle is unloaded, whoever is the driver will come out of that unloading area and they will have been told where they can park. For example, we have 2 large parking garages pretty conveniently located to several of our residence halls and to our different apartment areas. So we will have you go and park your car. All of the parking is open. There will be a couple of specialty, like a handicap parking spot. You won't want to park in something that's a specialty spot, but for the most part, those garages will all be open and you can pull in and park and then walk back to your students' building and go up to the room and get them settled. We also will have specialty surface areas where a car that might be oversized or somebody that might have a small trailer on the back, we will be able to direct that driver to the right area to park. We do not allow overnight parking, but if you're there unloading and doing your thing, your car will be parked in a garage or in a surface area, a grass field or something to get you situated.
Yeah, so
Recording in progress.
So hold on.
off with
I think we're back. Are we back, Virginia?
we might be back. Nothing like technology these days. You know, we live in a virtual world, things happen, but hopefully you're still, tuned in to what we've been sharing and the importance of moving in just a few short days. So last we left off, we were talking about, unloading and what that looks like at the residences. And I talked a little bit about our BGR leaders and their role, right? They will be there to support you, help actually move in your items, and tag vehicles to make sure that folks are still moving and not parked in the loading zones for too long, things like that. So I'm going to turn it back to Allie and talk about what else I can expect at the unloading step in the moving process, and then how long you actually have to unload your stuff.
Yeah, so we have always, for several years now, we've always targeted the entire check-in and move-in process to be like a 2-hour window. So by the time you actually enter that satellite location and you get through that process, you get everything done with your credentials and you get checked in, you drive to your residence, you unload your car, you go park your car, you get back. We always say, we like to believe it's about a 2-hour window. If people come at the right time and they come during their move-in time, we balance those numbers for a purpose and a reason. We believe that it would be expedited even quicker than that. Some people really want to do it their way and they don't want to go to the dock and they want to park first. I mean, that's really up to them. But if you want it expedited and you want that assistance at the unloading, we really recommend that you follow the traffic to your residence and you let us help you unload your car or truck. We will have people out there directing traffic. We will help you to back in or to pull out. We will have our front offices at each residential hall open and available if parents or students need to go to the front desk to ask for something. Maybe they've shipped something in advance and they need to pick up a package. Those front offices will be open and ready to serve. As the students are moving into their building, the resident assistant of that floor or that section, they're going to be there and coming around and meeting and greeting and just answering questions and offering support and assistance. We have a full team of custodial staff that will be helping to break boxes down and get them down to the recycle bins. We have folks that will bring those empty carts back down so that we're not waiting at the back dock for too terribly long to get another cart loaded up and taken to a room. Again, it's really what I would like to call an all hands on deck. Everybody that's here and part of our residential team is there to support your students and to help make this a smooth transition into their housing assignment.
Absolutely. So I'm seeing a few questions actually come in that kind of relate to where we're at in the process. So a student said, or a family member said, if you're moving in from 11:59 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., so that late evening block, do they have any time limits and how long they can take to move in? What's the difference between those students checking in the evening and those in the daytime?
A great question. And I want to preface it by saying we offer 24-hour move-in because we know in certain circumstances, it works out better for a family to come later at night. Or maybe a student is coming on a flight that doesn't land and get them here until that time. We really don't have a limitation during the midnight and late night, early morning hours. However, Virginia, I need everyone to understand that we also do not have all those extra helpers late at night. Not Friday night, that's a day early. Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday night, we will have support staff at those unloading areas until 9 p.m. because that's the time our last hour is that we're out at those satellite locations. Then from about 9 at night until about 9:45, we really won't move anybody in that hasn't checked in first, because we have to relocate to our late night location, which for anybody that comes after 9 p.m., they will go to First Street Towers, which is one of our residential locations, and we will do all of our later evening after 9 p.m. through till 7:30 the next morning at one location. So those that come in the daytime go to a parking lot. Those that come after 9 at night go to First Street Towers. And we're asking that between 9 p.m. and probably 9:45 for people to be patient with us. We have to sort of pack up everything out at those satellite locations, transfer it down to First Street Towers, and get set up again to do the late night. Then each morning at 7:30, we will take everything and get ready to move back out to our satellite locations, where we take our first move-in time at 9:30 in the morning. So we're trying to expedite and move stuff back and forth each day. But if you come late at night, you're still welcome to. Obviously, many people choose to come later at night, but just you and your helpers, your personal helpers, will be the ones doing the unloading. Now, the carts will still be available. You'll still be able to get in because you will have your PUID, which will give you access to the doors. And then, same as during the daytime, once your car is unloaded, we're still going to ask your family member to move it away from the unloading area and go park it in one of our parking areas, so that then you can get settled in just like you would if you were here in the daytime.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, I think it did. So another question before we talk a little bit about transportation maybe and parking, to cover that. So if we need to pick up a larger item from a store and bring it back after our initial move-in time, will we be allowed to still use the unloading areas for the hall to drop it off?
Wow, that's a good one. Yes, you can, but you also have to keep in mind that every hour, another group of students is there to do their original unload. I would personally recommend that if you are done with your unloading and you decide to, make a Target trip or a Walmart or a Meijer trip, wherever you're headed, and you're coming back with something bigger, I would personally recommend that you go ahead and drop your student off physically kind of closer to the building, and you might need to wait to be allowed to pull up, or you could park your car and ask if you could use a cart to go and wheel your big item back to the hall. That's a tough one because we really want that student to have all of that big stuff unloaded, during their move-in time. And again, I guess common sense and the idea that you might have to wait a little bit. We know as we get later into the evening, it's not quite as crowded at those unloading areas around the residence locations, but I would suggest that you might wait till much later in the evening, or you might make arrangements that your student asks to roll a cart kind of out to the curb, out of the way of all the other students that are still needing to do their unload.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Allie. So let's see. Let's actually transition to transportation because we have a few questions in here about that. So will students that live in further university resident boiler apartments have access to transportation during Boiler Gold Rush, for example, to get to their meals and programming? There's a question specifically in here that says, is the shuttle to 231 Flats and Blackbird Farms a dedicated shuttle? If so, I lost track of the question. What are the pickup times and return times?
Sure. And I actually can answer that because I'm also in charge of coordinating a shuttle or vans.
You're in charge of a lot, Allie.
I know. Hopefully I will make you all happy. So let me defer to a couple of the University Residences, Boilermaker Apartments. Many of those are very much in the heart of our campus and in walking distance to all of the areas that Boiler Gold Rush activities are going to happen. So for the purposes of transportation, any student can ride our city bus. There are multiple buses, multiple routes, multiple bus stops all around our campus. And there's an app for that. And the students can just show their Purdue ID, another good reason to get that photo uploaded, and they ride for free. So that's really wonderful. There is a dedicated city bus route from our Northwest, Blackbird, Village West, and 231 Flats, URBA Apartments, the University Residences, Boilermaker Apartments. City bus does have a route, and that bus is going to be running during our Boiler Gold Rush. They are already running that route now, actually. And there are bus stops out in the Northwest cluster for city bus. However, to help you and all of these students who are new coming to campus, we are University Residences. We are going to have some vans, minivans or 10-passenger vans, and we will have staff from University Residences who are certified to be allowed to drive those vans, and we will run those vans during your programming dates. So starting the evening of the 17th, when Boiler Gold Rush officially kicks off, we will run several vans, and we will do a dedicated loop from the bus stop out at the Blackbird Farms 231 Village West area. There's a bus stop. We will use that bus stop, and we will drive those vans back and forth, and we will stop at the recreational sports complex, the Cordova Co-Rec, and right behind the Co-Rec, the back entrance has a traffic circle, and we are going to use that circle. We will come from the northwest, we'll come down, and we will come to the circle where we will drop off. That location is in the heart of our residential campus. It is near multiple dining locations, and it is very close to where Boiler Gold Rush activities will pick up or drop off where y'all are headed out and about. So starting that evening, we will run that. And we will run that actually starting that day for the dinner time. So right now we're estimating like 5 to 7 p.m. We'll just be driving back and forth, getting students from the Northwest Residences down for their meal. And then they will be out and about doing their Boiler Gold Rush activities. And then starting at about 9 p.m. until 11 p.m., we will drive that same route to get those residents back to their apartment. And then each day thereafter, during your schedule, we will run a 2-hour time block at breakfast time, lunchtime, dinner time, and then that return time till 11 o'clock at night.
Awesome.
And Virginia, you might wind up driving a van because I know you guys do all kinds of things to help this effort. And so we will have several vans, and we just will keep driving back and forth. The drive time between the apartment area down to the co-rec is maybe 5 minutes. I haven't personally driven it yet, but I'm guessing it's 5 to 7 minutes. So we'll have several vans, and they'll just keep running that loop. We want to provide that service and help our students to get acclimated to campus and feel comfortable about what they're doing and how they're getting around. But I would also tell our students, you know, you might be bringing your bicycle. There is a trail, you know, through the celery bog, and there's the city bus. And I'll tell you, it's an opportunity if you live in the Northwest. Students that live there are eligible to purchase a parking pass. And so even that's a good opportunity, because the pass that they purchase gives them access to 3 or 4 different parking areas on campus. So that's another option for those that might be bringing their own car, that they can actually drive right down to campus and park and then go participate in all of their Boiler Gold Rush activities.
Right. And that parking pass is the C pass, right?
Yes, it's a C-Pass. And so if a student is moving into the Northwest buildings, again, Blackbird Farms, Village West, 231 Flats, those are all eligible for a C permit. And so any student can go out to the parking website and they can purchase a C-Pass if they live there. And there are, I know of at least 3 different C lots and maybe a 4th one, but anywhere that has got a red C-Pass parking sign, they're allowed to park there.
Awesome. And Allie, I'll tell you right now, I will not be driving a shuttle because I'll be supporting all of the BGR programs.
That's right.
But I know that other good colleagues will definitely be doing so.
Yeah, you'll be pretty busy all around campus.
We'll be very busy. We have a jam-packed BGR schedule for our students this year. So really quick, Allie, the biggest question of the night seems to be about the move-in pass. So I'm going to get to that. So where can students find it and is it available now?
Yes. So the students received an email July the 1st letting them know to go in and sign up for a time and a date. Your student can pick the time and date. They can change it tomorrow to something else and it deletes the old one and you get the new time. When you finally decide on your move-in time, then there is a spot on that site that says print your pass. And then you just click on it and you print it at home and it will just print on a piece of, whatever piece of paper you have in your printer, and you'll want to put that in your dashboard.
Okay, so on the move-in site where they actually select the time, that is where they'll find that button to print the pass.
Yes, ma'am. And that site for printing went live day before yesterday. So it is turned on now and they can print their pass.
So if a student's already selected their move-in time, can they actually return to that site to print their pass?
Yes, that's exactly where they go to print their pass. They return to that exact same site. And let's say I'm moving in and I had already picked a time and I don't really want to come at that time because something's changed in our schedule, then I can go back on and I can look and see what other times are still available and I can pick a different time. And if I'm really, really struggling and I just can't figure it out and I'm the student, I can call my residence main office phone number, which they got that when they got their housing assignment notice. And the person working at the residence hall, they can help them, they can walk them through to help them get to where they print that pass. It's really that simple. If by some odd chance a student has to move in on Sunday at 3 because of family schedules and commitments and they just can't figure out how to find a time slot, call your residence hall. They can help you and they will figure out how to get that time or as close to that time as they can, and they can help you to get your pass printed.
Okay, so it sounds like y'all are flexible, right? Like you work with the families.
Absolutely, because I know firsthand, having 2 daughters in college and a husband who worked nights for many, many years, we would have to work around a lot of schedules. And we moved two of our daughters into 2 different colleges at about the same time. So it's a lot to manage, and we want to be helpful. We want to be as supportive as we can for all of our students and for their families.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm checking to see if there's any other questions coming in. Most were about the move-in pass, so hopefully we've settled that. But I'll turn it back to you, Allie. Is there anything else that really is going to be the key to a successful move-in?
I have one more key to a successful move-in.
Awesome.
When a student gets their photo uploaded for their Purdue ID card, they will get an email back. Your student needs to be checking their email. They might get an email back that says your photo was rejected. Maybe it had a bunch of stuff in the background. Maybe it was a selfie that just doesn't meet the basic guidelines. Have your student double check because you want to make sure that photo was approved and it wasn't rejected. If it was rejected, you just upload a new photo. but make sure to do that. The other key to a successful move-in really comes a few days after the students have been here and they've been through Boiler Gold Rush. Eventually, your student is going to have to wash their clothes. If they
that will happen at some point. Laundry is real.
Laundry is real. Although my 16-year-old son might not agree with that.
Yeah.
However, laundry, the majority of all of our residential locations use Boiler Express to use the laundry. So once your student has their Purdue ID and they've got the email that it was approved, you can go online and you can set up your Boiler Express account and you can deposit money onto that Boiler Express account. That Boiler Express account will do lots of things. It will buy some snacks in a quick serve, or you can buy a meal on a Boiler Express. But I want to make sure they can wash their clothes. So make sure that you get that Boiler Express account set up so that students have access to the laundry. I'd say that's another key.
Right. We don't want smelly students running around Boiler Gold Rush.
Yeah, they might need to wash their clothes.
Yeah, and it's hot right now. Yeah, so that's important. Awesome. Well, Allie, I don't see any other questions coming in that our team hasn't taken care of on the back end. So I'll pass it to you. Any last minute advice for our students and families coming to move in very soon?
Well, like I said, I've moved 2 students into college for a few years now, and each of our daughters is different. One was super excited to just do it herself and to let her figure stuff out. The other needed a little more guidance, from us. But ultimately, I think if I could give you a piece of advice, I would say 2 things. I would say, trust your student. They know what's going to work for them. And if it works for them, it works. What works for one may not work for the other, but trust your student, let them learn, let them grow, and let them enjoy navigating our campus, meeting new friends, enjoying Boiler Gold Rush and all that it has to offer. My other piece of advice would be to trust us. I know this has been a hard year. Last year was hard with COVID. This year has been hard with a lot of different bumps in our road, but I'm asking you to trust us. We are in this business for one reason, and that is to serve your students. And so I truly, truly hope that you have a great experience when you arrive on our campus, whether it's next Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. I hope that you can enjoy it. I hope that you can find a way to let your student experience college the way they want and the way they need. And if you need something as a parent, there are so many resources, and we hope that you can find all that you need and that you give your student that chance to grow in their own way too. So trust us, trust your student, and boiler up.
Yeah, boiler up. That's awesome advice, Allie. Thanks so much for that. Well, I just want to thank you for an incredible evening of valuable information, even in spite of losing connection earlier. We will admit that was rough, but we bounced back and hopefully you stuck with us. So I will add now a few pieces just from the Boiler Gold Rush side. So I will echo what Allie said earlier. Check your Purdue email because we sent out Boiler Gold Rush final details to all of our BGR registrants. And so in that email is very specific information about what you can expect at Boiler Gold Rush in the next couple weeks, right? And so if you did not receive that email, however, you can definitely go to our orientation program's website, visit our orientation updates tab, and that message is archived on our website, just in case it went to a spam folder. We want to make sure that you're getting that information too. And then after you're all settled and you've gone through this incredible moving process and you've done all the right things to get there, you'll come over to us at Boiler Gold Rush check-in. And so check-in this year is taking place at the COREC, so our recreational sports center. And that day, August 17th at 4:45 p.m., at that time, all of our new students will connect with their Boiler Gold Rush team leader, who you will hear from on August 13th in prep for BGR. And so you'll connect with them, you'll go to dinner together as a new student group, and then head over to the first official Boiler Gold Rush event of the night at Ross-Ade Stadium at 8 o'clock p.m. for our Boiler Gold Rush kickoff. Okay, so make sure you're moved in before you check in with BGR though, okay? That is the number one thing from our end. We wanna make sure you're moved in and settled. So that's it for me. Once again, thank you to Allie Goodrich and our awesome partners at University Residences. We could not do this without them. And thank you all for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you so soon. Have a good night.
Good night.